Hello, everyone, and welcome to Business, our podcast giving you an insight into our partners, their businesses, and ultimately getting to find out about the individuals behind the scenes that make our club partners so successful. And today we're welcomed by the Commercial Director of Europcar, Mark Newberry. Mark, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Great to be here.
No, good. Just as you've been partners for a little over 6 months now.
Yeah.
It would be useful just to explain kind of your, forgive the pun, journey to kind of career to date as such, and then ultimately, Europcar, what your sponsors have targets, but certainly your link to Leicester and the surrounding area would be really useful for people to find out about.
Yeah, sure. So, so I'm Mark Newberry. I'm the commercial director for UK and Ireland for Europcar. So I guess my career journey, I was never setting out to do this role. Really, I left university. I did a law degree, and I thought, right, I'm going to be a lawyer. From a very working class background, and I thought I'll earn lots of money. I'll be a lawyer, and I'll look after mum and dad. Did my degree, had a first role in a law company, and hated it. And then thought, well, crikey, that wasn't the plan. So I left there, and I got a job at Direct Line Group, the insurer. So Churchill, Direct Line Group, Privilege, Green Flag, a big family of insurance brands. And I joined there in the contact center on telephones, and gradually worked my way up and across and around that organization. So by the time I'd left, which was after 18 years, I'd led people, I'd done marketing, I'd done trading, I've done B2B sales, I'd done B2C sales, I'd led change, I'd led programs. I went through a period in that business where we used to be owned by the Royal Bank of Scotland, and we floated onto the stock market. So that was a really interesting thing to go through. So in my final 4 years in that business, I was commercial director for Green Flag, which is the breakdown company when we used to rescue someone every 45 seconds. And so after that kind of 18-year period, it was really time for me to, could I do my role? Could I take my transferable skills? Could I take them to a different organization? And so I started to have a dialogue with Europcar. And some of the things that really, some of the principles I wanted to look for in a new organization is did they look after their people? Do they look after their customers? And have they got good ethics and a decent product there? And I was speaking to a few different organizations, and I arrived for my Europcar interview. I've been for a few processes, my big interview. And I got to Heathrow, our flagship station, early, and I just sat in the car park and I just watched the team deal with customers. I kind of secret shops to them, really. And
research.
And I just sat, research. And I saw these people fly in off long haul trips, or business customers or leisure customers, and the care in which the team were looking after them, guiding them to their vehicle, making sure it met their requirements, helping customers who are driving on the other side of the road or driving automatics, adjust to our vehicles. And after that, I kind of thought, right, this is the job. This is the job for me. And a few interesting things in the role. So for me, I'm now working in a global organization, which I hadn't done before. So I get to see how different markets around the world operate. So that's really interesting, and feels like it's growth. I'm covering both the UK and the Irish markets, which are quite different markets. So Ireland is more leisure and some B2B, and UK is more corporate and B2B versus leisure. So I work with two different markets that give me two different challenges and opportunities. My mum's Irish, so it gives me a chance to kind of reconnect with some my Irish roots. So it really brings together, I guess, the career of learning I've had into a role, but it also extends my reach and challenges me again. So it's good to be here.
Yeah. And a good part of that, I mean, you talk about the growth from national to international. And the challenges that face. How much is that underpinned by the culture and the values set by the company? Is it you talk about UK and you talk about Ireland. Yeah. Are there different cultures, or is there the same kind of values that stem through the business, which makes that an easier place to kind of manage, or certainly for you to manage two areas?
Yeah. No, it's really interesting that. So we do have corporate values. So being customer centric, feeling valued, inclusive, having open communication and working together, and those apply equally across the globe. But then when I meet up with my peer group, so commercial directors from Spain and Portugal and Italy and Germany, and we've all got slightly different traits, and in each country there is their own cultures. I find that really engaging, and it's interesting how kind of we do reflect a little bit our stereotypes. They probably think I'm quite reserved. My Spanish and Italian colleagues are more exuberant, and my German colleague talks a lot about process. And it just so happens that we kind of fall into it. And the same in Ireland. I found the Irish culture to be really engaged, but a bit more relaxed in terms of their processes and things. Maybe traditionally done more on a handshake rather than a contract. And whereas over here it's a bit more contractual and a bit more written down. But in terms of Europcar, do you want me to give you a couple of lines on who we are and just bring to life the business?
Really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, because it was new for me, really. So Europcar, they're founded in 1949 in Paris by Raoul Louis Mattei. So he created this organization, and really he wanted to democratize the really expensive asset that was the automobile. So cars were here, they're really expensive, folk didn't have access to them. So he wanted to kind of give everyday people the chance to have access to a motor car and to use it to meet their mobility needs. So he started this business where he would buy the assets and help others use them. And so really, if you look at that now, that's kind of entrepreneurship. It's kind of a form of car sharing, which is a modern mobility theme. A part of what he was doing was almost subscription. People be able to have this vehicle on a rolling basis. At the heart of it was equality and helping those who don't have as much reach this need. So it's very caring, and then today it's grown. So we're the biggest car rental organization in Europe. We operate in 140 countries across the globe. We operate around a fleet of around 250,000 vehicles, vans, trucks, and cars. We do around 68 million rental days per year. And that might be holiday makers, it might be businesses, it might be construction companies, vans and trucks, and so there's a really wide range of customer needs. So it's a very diverse business, and one of the big themes at the moment, as you'll be aware of, is sustainability. And so really we're trying to help the industry move towards a more sustainable carbon footprint. So that's one of the big challenges that the industry is facing into just now.
Yeah, and I think we talk about success of businesses and beyond kind of the balance sheet as such. And we've known each other a while, and we've the EV rally and all those sort of pieces. When you talk about success, I'd imagine that side of the business is a really big benchmark of where you want to take it as such. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. So on our Europcar mobility group website, we've got science-based targets around our carbon footprint. Each country has got its own target to try and increase the proportion of electric vehicles that we have, and we'll have to do lots of work to take our customers on that journey. There's been some really good progress here, and across the globe with the level of EVs that are here, the range of EVs, but still it represents change for the motorist. They've got to navigate the network and charging capability. That's improving, but it can still be better. They've got to adjust to a new style of driving, a new vehicle switch, trying to help folk on that journey. And that for me is a big motivator. It's a really big motivator. I've never been cooler in my kids' eyes than when I got my new EV. They thought it was really brilliant. They talk about they talk about the environment at school. And so I also haven't been to a petrol garage for some time. So I'm lucky enough to have a driveway I can charge at home. And so actually, I think the image that's portrayed in the papers is queues at the forecourts is going to cost you time. It saved me time. And if you're lucky enough to have the off-street parking, you just don't go to garages. It's an interesting one.
And I think for a lot of people, you would associate a Europcar with a holiday rental. I think you touched on about the UK market, about it being different. So what does your perfect kind of customer look like in the UK? Is it, B2B rental? Because I know you do a subscription service, which is a big focus for you. How does that work?
Yeah. So it's really interesting. So if we look at across the group, the Southern European destinations are classically more leisure. As you might imagine, so their business might be 70% leisure, holiday makers, and you have to kind of leisure peaks in the summer. But even then, they'll have a bedrock of small and medium enterprises that they're providing vehicles for. And in the UK, our customer base is more 65-70% business. So if you are a business and you're running a fleet and your vehicle breaks down, or you've ordered one and it's not arrived, or you've had an accident and there's a gap in your mobility, we step in and we can provide that gap.
Like a safety one, such
yeah. Or if you're a construction organisation, you've got a construction project up in the northeast and you're based in the southwest, and you need to scale up quickly your fleet and infrastructure, we can provide you vehicles. So there's lots of use cases. Or if an organisation, you don't want to take the risk of buying these assets, we can take the risk by buying the assets, and you can have so it has kind of balance sheet benefits for organisations as well. So yeah, a perfect customer for us is one that would like to rent a vehicle at kind of sustainable rates for them and also for us on a medium to long term basis. And obviously somebody who would like to look after the vehicle well as well.
Or clean it before they return it with a full tank or full charge. There you go.
Yes, please.
Brilliant. And obviously Europcar, no strangers to kind of sports sponsorship or advertising in the sports as such. So, in terms of partnering Tigers and that, when you were making this decision, and obviously you're a sports fan, so you've got the base point from this, but what was the single most important thing to consider when selecting a sports partnership? Not necessarily Tigers bit of it, but that is a marketing exercise for the brand.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I've personally done this. I did this at Green Flag with Leeds Rhinos netball team, and I've done it here with Leicester Tigers. So I was trying to think how to concisely answer this, and I wrote one word down, which is fit. And that's probably quite an opaque word because there's lots that can fall into fit. But so are the brands aligned? Are there similar things that we're trying to achieve? We talk about values and shared values, so the values of the two organisations match up. But often deeper than that, it's not just when you get your corporate values out or you look at them on the wall, are they similar? It's actually, how do we operate? Do we get on? Can we work well together? Can we have conversations together that will challenge each other in a positive way? And how can we work together? So there's an equation for team, which is 1 + 1 equals more than 2. And so basically the sum of the parts, the whole is more than the sum of the parts, if that makes sense. And I think that applies to partnerships. If you take one organisation and another organisation, if you put them together, you should get something more than just the sum of those two parts. And I think that's what I look for. And then in the case of Tigers, and actually in Leeds Rhinos with Green Flag, there's a community play.
Yeah.
So we've been, Europcar's UK headquarters is in Leicester. We've had a team here for 20-25 years. We're quite a big local employer. So there's definitely something around, something almost altruistic in terms of investing in our local community, and then also tapping into the community that you have there, Mark, of your supporters and of the other businesses. And there's a real value for us to connect with those businesses, work with them, learn from them, and help each other out.
Yeah, and I think that community isn't just grassroots rugby on a Sunday. It's actually around the we call it the Tigers family as such, but the community of being a Tigers supporter or even a rugby supporter, and how that is communicated and allowing brands like yourself or organisations that want to be involved and being part of a community as much as supporting the wider assets from that point of view, really. And it's good to hear. And you talked about values because ultimately mirror values or there's a shared value across both our organisations and what have you. But in terms of kind of you as a person, as a leader, what are your values? What don't we know about you and how you operate and kind of what you stand for as such?
it was interesting. So I was considering personal values or non-negotiables, and so I asked the kids. I said, yeah. So I've got, that's definitely in there. So I've got, for the viewers, so I've got 3 daughters, 12, 10, and 7, and so so I asked the family. I explained about this podcast, and my wife said that one of my values is not to wear trainers in the mud, which is quite funny. So yes, I do like to look after my footwear. My eldest said exercising and explaining, which is quite interesting. So I do exercise daily, so I think it's important to look after yourself, and I do take the time to explain all sorts of things to them, just to help with their learning. And my youngest, really, and this is a 7-year-old, she thought about it. She went, well, you're quite ready. I said, what do you mean by quite ready? Well, you're just ready to do things. You're just ready to go. You're just ready to do. I was like, yeah, I'll take that. I think that I'm going to be energetic, and I'm up for stuff. And then she said, you're fun and you're firm. I was like, okay, fine. So there's parenting credentials, they work, but when I think about it, I'm quite a principled person. So some of the obvious things you might hear. So I believe in fairness and helping others, trust, honesty, being kind, working hard, being humble, respecting other people, being a good teammate, like having the back of your colleagues and helping each other out. I tend to lean towards taking action and intervening if there's stuff that needs to be done. I believe in positivity. I'd much rather be positive and work out the how than staring into a glass half empty. I'm up for learning. I'm pretty resilient. I'll take the feedback, and I want to learn and be better. And I kind of look for that in other folk. And actually, when I flip that, the moments that I get perhaps wound up or a bit more frustrated is when people cross those lines. So if they're dishonest with me, or if they deceive me, or that and always relationships can be repairable, but those are the times when it seems to just get under my under my skin a little bit more. And then when I look at my actions, so I've done quite a lot of work with the kids around inclusivity. So that's definitely strong. I help run a local charity, and so we kind of help folk who are in need. So there's definitely a thing around helping other people. And one of the big things I enjoy doing at work is helping folk achieve stuff or to stretch themselves. So I definitely say that inclusivity and helping other people get on are core. And then the kids reminded me, my final bit, because I know this is a long answer, the final bit the kids reminded me of is, they said, well, what do you say just before we go to school, Dad? And I said, so every morning, be good, work hard, learn lots, have fun. So that's probably, I've said that to each 3 of my daughters every day for goodness knows how long. So they're probably my values, because I come back to that every day.
Yeah, I've definitely seen them on a wall somewhere. And like, yeah, you should do it yourself as such, really. But no, really useful. And kind of, just two kind of last questions for you, and a quick one. What does your legacy look like? If you were to move, or is it the value? Is it a combination of the values that people could remember as such? Is it something you thought about?
Yeah. So I haven't really thought about it, but it's interesting because I'm sure like you do, Mark, I listen to pods, and these are the types of questions that kind of successful, inspirational people often asked on these pods, and I always think, oh, crikey, I've never once, I've probably never considered myself worthy of talking about legacy, and so I've not really talked. But I think, I left Direct Line after 18 years, and I had lots of messages, and in some ways that was almost like a live kind of feedback on the legacy that I had in that organisation. And generally, I want to be thought of as a decent guy who tried his best to make stuff better. And whether or not that's the environment or teams or processes or growing a business or making more sustainable, I just want to try and have a positive impact and make stuff better and to be well thought of. So, and then probably closer to home, for Lottie and I, our main legacy is going to be the 3 kids, and can we grow 3 decent human beings who try to make a decent impact on the world in whatever way that they want. But 3 decent human beings would probably be my most defining achievement. And it's still a work in progress.
No, well, you never crack it, but it's very noble of you. Thanks, Mark. And just a finisher, just for everyone, and some of the feature that we like to do, what would your one book recommendation? I always have to caveat, and it doesn't have to be a business book, it can be a personal, whatever. But if you were to read one book that would define your life, or you would recommend to define another person's life, what would you choose? And it can't be Harry Potter.
Jeepers, yeah. Well, it's interesting. So I like page turners. So for fun, it'll be like a Dan Brown, or it'll be whether short shop. I discovered started last year that I'm dyslexic, and I think part of that is it. I can't handle long prose. I just like page turners. But a book that I've recently read, actually, and I would recommend it, is this small one by Greta Thunberg, and it's called "No One Is Too Small to Make a Difference." And I like that principle in general. But obviously here she's talking about the environment, and it's a pocket-sized book. It's only $3.99, and it's a series of short
available from all good bookshops.
Available from all good bookshops.
And bad one.
Yeah. And it's just a collection of speeches that she's delivered to governments and parliaments around the world. And so some of the content is repetitive because it's a variation of the same speech that she's delivering in Canada or to France, or but I like her directness. I like her passion and her clarity of thought. And I like the fact you get to read the same message 20 odd times. Yeah. And so by the time you finish the book, it's really persuasive.
Paid in. Yeah,
it's really persuasive. So I think it's a good lesson in terms of communication, short, sharp, to the point, really commit and say what you mean. But also, as a book as we're trying to face this challenge that is climate, it's a really good one for folk to have a read. And people who are faster reading than me will smash it in no time.
Brilliant. Well, Mark, thank you for joining us again. Really insightful, fascinating story, and I know listeners will get a lot out of it. And we wish you all the best. And we're sat in the new Europcar stand, and I think everyone will love to see it at at the next game here at Matty Edwards Welfare Road. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark. Really enjoyed that.